No one's proven Bigfoot doesn't exist, so he must be real. That's the appeal to ignorance, assuming something is true just because it hasn't been disproven. Sure, Bigfoot could be out there, but the lack of evidence isn't exactly proof. This fallacy thrives on mystery, turning uncertainty into a weak argument. It's great stuff for campfire stories, but not so much for a solid debate, unless of course Bigfoot himself shows up to settle it. Genetic fallacy. Hey, what are you watching? Just a YouTube video about logical fallacies from some guy called Matt. Don't trust what you see on the internet. Thanks for the reminder, Aunt. Maybe you shouldn't either. This is the genetic fallacy, judging an idea based on its origin instead of its content. Sure, some sources are sketchy. Looking at you, Reddit forums I browse when I can't sleep. But an idea's value doesn't depend on where it came from. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Red herring. You're in the middle of arguing about who left dirty dishes in the sink when your roommate suddenly says, "Well, you forgot to take out the trash once last year." Wait, what? That has nothing to do with the sink. That's a red herring, a distraction thrown into the conversation to steer it away from the main point. It's like if I confronted you over never paying me back and you said, "Hey, remember that time I helped you move?" Dude, that was 1997. Gambler's fallacy. Red hasn't come up on the roulette wheel in ages, so it's due. I forgot it's that simple. Why aren't we all millionaires then? That's the dangerous gambler's fallacy, believing past events affect future probabilities. The truth is, the roulette wheel doesn't care about patterns or your dreams. Each spin is completely random, no matter how many times black has come up. It's a fallacy that keeps casinos in business and gamblers yelling, "Just one more spin." Moving the goalposts. Okay, so you proved dogs are good friends, but what about the fact that they don't do your taxes? Seriously? Do you also expect them to drive you home from the bar? That's moving the goalposts, changing the standards so the argument simply can't be won. It's just a sneaky way to avoid admitting defeat, and a guaranteed ticket to frustration. Texas sharpshooter. Imagine shooting arrows at a barn, then circling the spot where most of them landed and saying, "See? I'm a pro at this." That's the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, cherry-picking data to fit your argument. It's like saying, "This chocolate cereal is healthy because it has vitamins," while ignoring the 75 grams of sugar. It's as logical as calling yourself a great driver because you didn't hit anyone today. Appeal to fear. If I were you, I would sign with our house insurance, because you never know, something could happen and then you'd end up with nothing. That's the appeal to fear, using scare tactics instead of logic. It's like saying, if you don't eat all your vegetables, you'll never grow tall. Thanks, Mom. I'll never forget that one. Okay, broccoli might be good for you, but fear-based arguments rarely lead to good decisions. Stick to reason, not panic. Loaded question. Why do you always cheat at board games? Whoa, slow down. This fallacy assumes something unproven and traps you into a guilty response. If you answer, "I don't," it sounds like you're denying a habit that doesn't exist. If you answer, "I do," well, congratulations, you just confessed to being a cheater. Loaded questions force you into a corner, making you look bad no matter what you say. The best way out? Call out the assumption behind the question, or just remind them who really flipped the Monopoly board last time. Yes, I like Monopoly, if you couldn't tell from a few videos on this channel. Hasty generalization. A simple example. You meet one dog that barks at you, and from then on, you decide that all dogs are aggressive. This fallacy happens when you take one small experience and blow it up to represent an entire group. Before you generalize, gather more evidence, unless it's about stepping on a Lego brick. We can all agree that's always a nightmare. Ad hominem. Why bother debating ideas when you can just attack the person instead, right? That's the ad hominem fallacy, dismissing someone's argument based on irrelevant personal traits. Pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. What would you know? You wear socks with sandals. It's like saying someone's opinion on this video doesn't count because they can't parallel park. Sure, maybe you'd prefer not to park behind them, but that has nothing to do with their argument. This works because it shifts focus away from the actual point with cheap personal attacks. Real classy. By the way, I must confess, I've never had pineapple pizza. Should I give it a try? Post hoc ergo propter hoc. You know what? Let's just call this one because I said so fallacy. but in Latin. It makes me sound smarter. That's also a fallacy. It means assuming that just because one event happens after another, the first one must have caused the second. I started reading a new book, and then I got a promotion. I'm telling you, it's the book. Sorry, but no. Just because you read the first 5 pages of Harry Potter, your boss didn't suddenly realize you'll have magical skills that will increase revenue. Revenuus maximus. Post hoc fallacies mistake coincidence for causation, and also give way too much credit to motivational quotes. False dilemma. You either drink coffee or you hate mornings. Ugh, ever heard of tea? False dilemmas pretend only 2 options exist. In reality, there's a whole buffet of choices. A common example? If you're not voting for Jeff to be mayor, you're ruining the city. Life isn't all black and white, and neither are most decisions. False dilemmas oversimplify to make the speaker's position seem like the only logical choice. But don't be fooled. There's always a third option, like staying out of the drama and spending the day with your dog by the water. Appeal to authority. Why? Because I said so. The classic mom line. And a good example of this fallacy, where we assume something is right just because someone in charge says it is. Sure, mom usually knows best. They did keep you alive after all, but even they're not always right. Remember when your mom told you that if you crossed your eyes, they'd get stuck that way? Yeah, turns out that's not true. This fallacy works because it's easier to trust authority than question it. But hey, even mom's wisdom isn't above a fact check. And no, eating watermelon seeds won't make a watermelon grow in your stomach, no matter how convincingly she said it. No true Scotsman. Imagine you're at the office arguing about coffee, and someone says, "No real coffee lover adds milk and sugar." There it is, the no true Scotsman fallacy. This sneaky tactic changes the definition of a group to exclude anything that doesn't fit their opinion. Apparently, unless you're drinking espresso so strong and bitter it could peel paint, and yes, I am that person, you don't count as a real coffee fan. It's an easy way to dismiss counterarguments without actually engaging in them. But whether you take it with milk, iced, or add enough sugar to turn it into a dessert, if you love coffee, you're in the club. Appeal to emotion. Adopt this puppy, or it'll spend Christmas alone in the cold. Ouch. Appeal to emotion bypasses logic entirely, playing on your feelings to win you over. Sure, the puppy example is persuasive and adorable, but don't let emotional manipulation cloud your judgment. Good arguments stand on facts, not tears, though the puppy's big, sad eyes do make it really tempting. Argument from silence. No one said anything, so I'll take that as a yes. That's the argument from silence, assuming silence equals agreement. Maybe they're too polite to argue, or maybe you should stop talking to newborns. Either way, silence isn't a solid foundation for logic. If no one's speaking up, it probably just means they're ignoring you, not agreeing with you. Tu quoque. Oh, you binge-watched the entire Squid Game last weekend, so don't tell me I need better time management. That's tu quoque, dismissing someone's argument because they're guilty of something similar. It's an easy way to dodge criticism, but it doesn't actually address the point. Sure, calling out someone's hypocrisy might feel good, but it doesn't make your bad time management any less of a problem. 2 wrongs don't make a right, even if both wrongs involve way too much Netflix. Personal incredulity. How can people trust their phone to unlock with just their face? It doesn't make sense to me. Dismissing an idea just because you don't understand it is personal incredulity. Sure, the idea that a tiny camera can scan your face and instantly grant access to your life savings, private messages, or those super important screenshots you keep is a bit strange. But your confusion doesn't make it false. The world is full of things we don't understand, like why your neighbor's lawn always looks a little greener than yours. Appeal to tradition. That's how we've always done it in my family, so it must be the best way. Yeah, sure, if the best way is also the most difficult and expensive. Traditions can be comforting, but they're not automatically right. Remember when people thought you had to send letters by pigeon to communicate? Sometimes traditions need a little upgrade, like swapping out the pigeon for texting. Look, those poor birds also needed a break. False equivalence. Watching YouTube all day is just as bad as never relaxing at all. Whoa, hold up. That's false equivalence, comparing two things that aren't actually similar. Sure, both might not be the healthiest habits, but one involves becoming a couch potato and the other burning out like a candle in December. This fallacy tries to make two things seem equally bad or good, even when they're miles apart. Be careful, as it can lead to underestimating serious issues or overreacting to minor ones. Strawman fallacy. How did I even get dragged into this argument? All right, the strawman fallacy. That's when someone twists your words into a weaker, exaggerated version and attacks that instead. We should have more vegetarian options on the dinner menu. Oh, so you want to ban meat and force everyone to eat like rabbits? No, Karen, that's not what Jack said or meant. The straw man works because it avoids the real debate and creates a fake one that's easier to win. Fun for them, super frustrating for you. Bandwagon fallacy. If everyone's jumping off a bridge, well, you know the rest. The bandwagon fallacy insists that something is right just because it's popular. Let me ask you, if you saw everyone lip-syncing to songs online, would you grab your phone and start mouthing the words to Cheerleader in your PJs? This feels oddly familiar, right? Hello, 2015. Popularity doesn't equal proof. People can, and often do, jump on bad ideas together. This fallacy plays on our fear of missing out, but most of the time, it's perfectly fine to skip the bandwagon. Middle ground fallacy. Hey, did you know dogs can fly? What? No, dogs can't fly. Don't be so rude to me. What do you think they have a tail for? Yeah, maybe I was a bit rude. Let's compromise. Some dogs can fly. That's the middle ground fallacy, assuming the truth has to be halfway between two extremes. But very often, there are no two extremes. One side is just completely wrong. If you tell me that it's raining and I say it's not, the answer isn't, it's raining on half the street. Facts don't care about middle grounds. Equivocation. I have the right to free speech, so I'm right. Smart play, Karen, but that's equivocation. Using the same word with different meanings to mislead. Having the right doesn't make you right. It just means you can say what you want. Equivocation plays tricks with the meaning of words, but it won't trick anyone with a dictionary, or even a little common sense. Appeal to novelty. It's new, so it must be better. Oh, yeah, the fallacy that keeps many companies' accountants busy. It assumes that just because something is new, it's automatically superior, and that's especially common with phones. Hey Matt, my new phone has a chip that's 15% faster than the old one. I just had to buy it. And do you even know what that means? Yeah, sure, everything runs so much better, and there are 3 new wallpapers. Okay, but what does the phone actually do that last year's didn't? Shiny doesn't mean better. Just ask your closet full of trendy clothes from 2005. Nirvana fallacy. Imagine refusing to wear a seatbelt because it doesn't guarantee you'll survive every crash, or dismissing a perfectly good job offer because it doesn't come with a gym in the office and a Mercedes. That's the Nirvana fallacy, comparing real solutions to unrealistic, idealized alternatives and rejecting them for being imperfect. Life isn't perfect, and waiting for a flawless solution usually means missing out on good ones. Sometimes good enough really is good enough, because perfection only exists in fantasy, not reality. Anecdotal evidence. My Uncle Jim smoked his whole life and he lived to 95, so it's not as bad as they tell us. Sounds like your Uncle Jim is the new longevity guru, Frank. Or more likely, this is anecdotal evidence, using personal experience or observations to dismiss broader data. While Frank's uncle might be an exception, one example doesn't cancel out all the research showing the risks of smoking. This fallacy tricks people into ignoring real data because it's easier to relate to someone they know. Slippery slope. You know, Matt, if you let your dog sleep in your bed, next thing you know, they'll take over your house. That's a slippery slope, assuming one small decision will spiral into extreme uncontrollable consequences. The reality? Dogs aren't plotting world domination. Yet. While small actions can lead to bigger ones, not every choice sets off a chain reaction of chaos. This fallacy plays on fear and exaggeration to distract from logical thinking. Just make sure you keep an eye on your snacks. Division fallacy. Our software team is doing amazing work. It must be an all-star team. Well, not quite. That's the division fallacy, assuming that because the group is successful, every individual is equally great. Sure, the team might be crushing it, but there's always that one person who shows up late, spends half the day in the bathroom, and contributes by saying, "Great idea," in meetings. Somehow these people get the most credit. Circular reasoning. Why is circular reasoning bad? Because it's bad. That's why. This fallacy tries to use the conclusion as proof of itself. This car is the best because it's better than all the others, Sean. Okay, but what makes it better? Very often you get the feeling that the discussion is just spinning like a hamster on a wheel. But some people know how to use it well, and then it becomes powerful because it all starts to sound logical. Always ask for actual evidence. Otherwise, you might end up buying a car just because it sounds like it's better than what your neighbor has. If you want to know why we so often do stupid things, watch the video to the left. To find out what type of person you are, watch the one on the right. My name is Matt, and I thank you for watching.